Well, now things are getting fun here on the Viking Update Show. We have an actual game to talk about. We have more games to preview, and we do have the regular season here on the horizon. He's John Krawczynski from The Athletic. I'm Jim Souhan from the Star Tribune, and this is TalkNorth.com, the podcast network we started a while ago now. Continue to grow it. We appreciate all of your support. The Viking Update Show is coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services Studio.
Scott for Aquarius Home Services. Summer is flying by and will be over before we know it. Don't waste it on repairs. From flickering lights to not-so-hot water heaters, let Aquarius take care of your to-do list. With $98 off any electrical or plumbing repair, we're ready to rescue your summer from household headaches so you can enjoy a worry-free home. Aquarius, local, trusted, and earning the right to be recommended. Schedule today at AquariusHomeservices.com.
And the Viking Update Show is presented to you by Giggly THC Beverages and OnX Hunt. We'll tell you more about our sponsors here in a little bit. All right, John, the Vikings played their first preseason game. I think people have probably heard the disclaimers enough about how preseason doesn't matter much.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what might have mattered from the first game. Just of all the little developments, what stood out to you the most?
I mean, first, I know we belabor it, we talk about it a lot, but I do think starting off from the top on just what we saw from JJ McCarthy is a good place to go right away in terms of, did he completely wow you? No, he didn't, but he looked comfortable and in command of what he was supposed to do out there in his limited time. He was able to make plays with his feet in the pocket, also run for a first down. He was able to make a couple of throws down the field. He missed one to Jackson that could have made the day even a little bit bigger. But when you're looking for breadcrumbs, in these games and trying to make at least some sort of judgments out of what you see, I do think that he put enough on display to make you feel pretty good about the trajectory and about what he is doing out there. I know the practices have been up and down and maybe even a little concerning at times with how much the defense has controlled things. But I thought in that environment, I thought McCarthy was solid. And that's a good place to start for him as he works his way through the preseason, through these training camps, practices, and gets ready for opening week.
I did find it interesting because we've seen him in game situations twice now. Last year, he had the 3 touchdown passes. Wide receivers were wide open, but still made good throws to them, threw the right person in the right way at the right time before he hurt his knee. And this felt more like him trying to avoid mistakes than trying to make the big play, which might be the right approach for him right now. Big plays are probably going to happen if he doesn't turn the ball over by the nature of the talent around him and the design of this offense. And we saw Sam Darnold, produce tons of big plays in this offense. We saw Cousins do it as well. It felt to me like his emphasis in this game was throw it to where only my receivers can catch it. Don't make the big mistake. Run if it's there, but don't force the run. So if we're going to take anything from this game, it looks to me like he is taking seriously the coaching on how not to make a mistake.
Yeah, and I do think that's going to be a very interesting push and pull throughout, especially the early part of the regular season. And we talked about this a little bit a couple of weeks ago, Jim, but I do think that there is an element of risk taker in him. I do think that he wants to be a playmaker and not just a game manager. And so his ability to make the right decisions on when it is time to cut it loose and when it is time to be more precise and careful about what he's doing out there is going to be, I think, one of the keys to his success or failure early in the season, just in terms of getting control of this job. And to your point, I do think that it felt like he was auditioning for the role in a way, even though the job is his, in terms of trying to prove that he can make the right reads, the right decisions, and that he's not going to be reckless. Because I do think that the one thing that he knows, Kevin O'Connell knows, is that the one thing that can get him into trouble early in terms of perception, in terms of with his teammates, in terms of just overall, is if he makes stupid throws and makes bad turnovers. And that is, that's the one thing that can compromise his hold on the job. And so it did seem to be a more careful opening, frame for him, and how he goes about sort of incorporating that carefulness with also not being afraid to let it loose and make the big plays and try and take the big plays when they are there. It's going to, I think, determine the ceiling for him and probably for this team.
Yes. And we know this offense is supposed to produce big plays. We saw Kevin O'Connell with Sam Darnold call a 99-yard touchdown pass that was designed to be a 99-yard touchdown pass. Sometimes those things are happy accidents. He actually designed it to be a 99-yard touchdown pass. So they want big plays. McCarthy, again, in the preseason game he played when he got hurt last year, he made big plays. I think the big plays will present themselves if they are in good down and distance situations and if they don't turn the ball over. And I think between the way he was coached by Harbaugh and the way he's coached by O'Connell, I think, I'm still of the belief that all this is trending in the right way, even if he has the occasional difficult practice or difficult practice moment.
Yeah, I mean, I do. I think there's going to have to be an element of patience with him that way. But I do think that one of the overriding themes of the last 2 months really has been this organization sort of throwing its weight behind him after the Aaron Rodgers stuff and all of that. And, one thing that I saw on the sideline during the game was Josh McCown coming up to JJ a couple of times while he was just watching, putting an arm around him, really talking things through, and having these open conversations that both project a support from the coaches and a belief from the coaches, but also I think show everyone around him that this is a package deal, that this is a partnership that is going on here, that they are embarking on, and that they have to kind of fine tune through this training camp and preseason. And so the more of those kind of gestures, the more discussions from Kevin O'Connell and comments about, the progression that JJ is making, I think all of that feeds into sort of defining who McCarthy is as a quarterback, but also making everyone believe that, yes, this is our guy. We do believe in him and he can do what we're asking him to do.
We'll get to the rest of the quarterback depth chart. I'm going to throw out kind of a fun thought or fun question that just popped into my head. Who's going to have the better season this year? Talking about when we're looking back in February, who had the better season, Aaron Rodgers or JJ McCarthy?
Wow. That's a super fun question, right? Because there's just so many different ways to look at it. But, I understand and I have heard a lot of the skepticism around Rodgers in Pittsburgh. And I'm right there at the front of that line of skeptics in terms of, at this stage of his career, at this age, is he willing and able to stand in, take hits, do all of the things that you need to do as a quarterback to really lead a team? I think if any coach is going to get the most out of him and the best that Rodgers is able to provide, it's probably Mike Tomlin. He just always finds a way. But I wonder if things haven't passed him by. Maybe he'll look good, week 1, week 2, week 3. But as the season goes along, I think that the two arrows are going to go in opposite directions. I think McCarthy's going to trend upward as he kind of gets more comfortable. And I think Rodgers will trend downward as the physical demands of the season weigh on him, and as kind of, any of the limitations that Pittsburgh has as an offense do as well. I know, they made some moves and they brought some guys in, but I I'm as down on Aaron Rodgers as I've been in a long time. But yeah, looking at it through the lens of, hey, the Vikings at least considered this as an option is a really interesting way to put it that I hadn't thought about before.
I basically agree with everything you said. I think Rodgers, I still can't get over the fact the Favre thing was different. When he came to the Vikings from the Jets, he had been injured. And I'll admit at the time, I thought, okay, beat up old Brett coming off a year where he couldn't get through healthy with the Jets. I don't know how much he has left. And then honestly, the first preseason game I saw him play, I went down to Houston and watched him play against the Texans. I'm like, oh, that's different. The way he throws the ball, the way he makes decisions, this is different. He still got it. And then I changed my mind. With Rodgers, I cannot get over the fact that a team that some people actually think is a sleeper this year with Justin Fields as the quarterback, that does have a number one receiver, that has excellent running back talent, that has, at least a pretty good offensive line, that has a really talented defense, that they went 5-12 with him as a starter. I do expect Mike Tomlin to get more out of him, but what is that? 6-7 wins? Going 500,
right.
Winning, going 9-8, squeaking to the playoffs, losing the first round again. I think what Pittsburgh's already been doing without Rodgers is high end with Rodgers. So I do think that by the end of this year, health willing, McCarthy will have had a better season and will be much more highly thought of.
Yeah. I just think thinking back to Favre coming here and then Rodgers going to Pittsburgh now, I'm not there every day, in Pittsburgh like I was with Favre when he came here to Minnesota, but the dynamics just seem to be different in that I feel like Brett Favre desperately wanted to still prove that he could do this and probably stick it to Green Bay a couple of times as primary motivating factors. And as we know, in elite athletes, that chip on your shoulder, hate, whatever you want to call it, is an unbelievable kind of springboard to take in most cases. Aaron Rodgers, I just get the impression that he doesn't have a real chip on his shoulder. He's just kind of like floating through this and just doing it because he can still, because there's someone that still wants him on the team. And I don't see that edge. I don't see that commitment to the game, that Favre had. And, we can look at Favre's off the field stuff or whatever, but you knew that he was totally locked in and how important football was to him and what he wanted to do in that locker room as a leader. And I just don't know that Rodgers has that same vibe. And when you're that old, you need something pushing you forward. Tom Brady, wanted to prove that he still had it, wanted to show the Patriots that they messed up and all those things. I just don't see that same thing hanging out there for Rodgers. And that's why I do think that it just feels more likely than not that he kind of just goes out with a whimper here.
Yeah, you said it. I don't really have anything to add to that. I think that's the right encapsulation here. I just don't trust Rodgers. By the time I saw Favre in a week of practice in the preseason game, I went from being skeptical to trusting him to be a really good quarterback for that team. And I still think they should have won the Super Bowl that year. Hey,
yes,
my band is playing at Flaherty's in Arden Hills, 7 to 10 on Saturday night. If you want to stop by, we always have a good time. We're playing on the patio. Other times we played there, we got forced inside by weather, hoping to actually stay on the patio for the full time this time. Love to see if you want to show up. We want to thank one of our primary sponsors at TalkNorth.com, Giggly.com. Promo code is GigglyNorth. We'll get you up to 50% off your first order. After that, it will not be hard for you to find another promo code if you follow them on socials. Go to their website, Giggly.com. They're always coming out with new gummies or candies or chocolates or something like that. I'll tell you, I just went on a mini vacation with my wife. And one night I had some whiskey. Sometimes whiskey works with me fine. Sometimes it sneaks up on me and hits me in the back of the head with a shovel. This was a shovel experience. And I woke up the next morning thinking, man, if I had access to Giggly and I drank Giggly instead of whiskey last night, I would feel great today because it's the truth. I can drink Giggly. There's never a bad reaction. I never feel tired. I never feel hungover. I never feel lethargic. It actually helps me sleep. So I end up being more energetic the next day. It's been a great thing for my life. So again, use the promo code or not, or find another promo code. Doesn't matter. Go to giggly.com, order the cocktails, order the teas, order the seltzers, or the gummies or the candies. And I guarantee, based on my experience, you'll feel great the next day. We're coming to the end of summer, and that means that there might not be that many more fishing days. So it's time to grab the boat. Let Onyx Fish help you find the next best bite. The Fish app offers the most comprehensive fishing tool for increasing your success. Use the Fish app to find new places to fish and sort lakes by species, abundance, trophy, and keeper potential. Onyx Fish also shows you hot spots, lake by lake regulations, and private and public land ownership information. Download Onyx Fish in the App Store or go to onyxmaps.com/fish to get more information about the app that is changing the game. Let's go to the rest of the quarterback depth chart. Sam Howell's the easiest guy. We've seen him play before. They traded a draft pick. He is their backup. Even if he played badly in the preseason, he would still be their backup. I think the more intriguing conversation is Rypien versus Brosmer. What are you seeing in that competition?
Yeah, real quick on Howell first. I do think like he looked fine in the first week, and I kind of think he needed it. Like whenever you're new in a new situation, you're going through things, like to be able to show that you are capable of engineering an offense and going down the field, I think was important first step for him. Just making an impression with the group in general. But, I will admit that I was kind of taken by Max Brosmer, watching the way that he ran the offense and looked so comfortable as an undrafted rookie. Just like making plays, making reads, throwing people open. That was kind of the most impressive part to me, was that he was not just like hitting guys on swing passes, guys that were open in the flats, things like that. He was making really good throws down the field, to tight windows or anticipatory throws, I would say, that really did shine, to me. And I had heard kind of earlier in camp, that Brett Rypien really was impressing just from a mental side of things and having an understanding of the offense and being able to kind of do things, having experience with this kind of scheme. But man, that's the kind of game and that's the kind of performance from Max Brosmer that might, earn him a longer look than I think I initially anticipated. Then he, comes back this week and they have a practice and he throws a big 40-yard bomb against the number one defense. So he's making plays and making an impression that I think was unexpected. And I just want to see more of it right now. I want to see him play a lot coming up in these preseason games and just see how he continues to handle himself, because there's some interesting tools there.
No doubt. And I was really impressed how he handled himself at the Gophers last year. Came in after excelling at a lower level. And you could see in at least the first half of his first game, you see nerves and, you can see him questioning the speed of the game. Can I really make the same throws that he made last year? And then he settled in. He played better in that second half of that first game. Then he had a really good season. And I like his downfield throwing. I like his arm strength. I like his decision making. He's not a great athlete, but he's a good pocket passer. And I think I don't know what his upside is. It's such a high bar to be a starter in the NFL, to keep your job as a starter in the NFL. If you're not a top 14 quarterback in the world, your team's looking to replace you. So I don't know what his future is, but he's been more impressive. He's been impressive since he arrived in Minnesota. And I guess I'm not completely surprised that he would look good in this situation, because I do think he's a mature guy.
Yeah. And I do think like we can take a minute here. I was thinking about this just over the weekend. There is some debate that we can have about PJ Fleck in terms of what he's done just as an overall winning coach with the Gophers. Like, he's had a couple of really good seasons, but I think the hope that the Gophers were sort of going to, climb into the, contender status regularly in the Big Ten has not really been fulfilled yet. But one thing that PJ Fleck has done an incredible job at, in my opinion, is It used to be in this town, Jim, that if the Gophers had 1 or 2 players drafted in an NFL draft, it was cause for celebration. It was an unbelievable achievement for this program to put a couple of guys in the league and to get a couple of guys drafted. Certainly, if it's a first round, second round, third round pick, something like that, that's notable. But PJ Fleck keeps turning out players offensively and defensively, a lot of offensive linemen, some defensive backs, a lot of guys that are going through it. And now Brosmer, as an undrafted guy, is going in and at least making an impression. It does show that that Fleck is doing a good job of developing talent that is prepared to play in the NFL. And I think that in the absence of having a Rose Bowl appearance to put on your resume, if you're a college coach, that is a big thing to tout when you're in the recruiting game. It's like, hey, you come here and we're going to give you a chance to be in the NFL. And for many, many years, Gopher coaches could not say, hey, you come here, we'll put you in a position to be drafted and drafted high in the NFL, or to make the team and contribute in some way, even as an undrafted guy. And that's what Fleck has done with these Gophers, because Brosmer just looks ready. He looks comfortable. And that is a big feather in the Gophers' cap, because of of just how easily that transition seems to have come for him going from college to the NFL here.
And 2 years in a row, he's gotten a great prospect out of the state of Minnesota. Corey Parrish might be the best Gopher we've seen in decades.
Oh man, that guy is unbelievable. And I kind of like how, he's this kid from a small town, but he has star quality written all over him, and the charisma is there. I mean, he said, I think a couple of weeks ago, basically like, I'm just looking to get to the NFL as soon as possible. And as soon as they let me go, I'm going. But that's the mentality that he has that separates him from others. That guy is going to be an incredible player, for a long time. And yeah, I think a true star for the Gophers, we haven't seen that, maybe since Tyrone Carter, Lawrence Maroney, those types of players that are oh my gosh, this is a first round draft pick, but also a, just a stud type of a player. And that's what Coy Parrish is, man. He's electric.
No question about it. Hey, I'm wearing my Johnny O hat. I got it at Twill in the United Galleria, twillmn.com. I'm wearing a Peter Millar golf shirt. These are my favorite shirts now. They're just so comfortable. The stretchy fabric they make these stuff out of these days is so much better than the old cotton stuff we used to wear. When I was about to go on this last vacation, I went to Twill. They were having 40% off some of their clearance stuff, because they're clearing stuff out for fall. Bought best pair of swim trunks I've ever owned. They're also Peter Millar. Bought a bow tie for my daughter's wedding. They have everything from nice shoes to casual shoes to bow ties for tuxes to fine Italian suits. It's again, just went on this vacation. Everything I bought at Twill. They just have fully outfitted me from everything from special events to just sitting around my living room, something that's comfortable. I cannot recommend the shop or the shopping experience or, the knowledge of the employees any more than I already have. It's just a great place. Best men's clothing shop in Minnesota. Most friendly, most comfortable, most casual. Just walk through, say hello. Even if you don't want anything, just duck in. They will have something that grabs your eye, just like it always grabs my eye. Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com. And you can sign up for email alerts if you're ever interested in getting notified about their sales. They only send out an email alert once every 2-3 months. They will not spam you to death, but it's good to know because it's high-end stuff. And when it's on sale, it's just a great deal. Now here's Talk North star Michael Russo for Clamshell Beach Resorts.
Hey, have you been dreaming of a lake cabin lifestyle with boating, fishing, and family fun in northern Minnesota? Well, lately I've thought a lot about how cool it would be to have a getaway like so many Minnesotans. And if you're like me, you probably think that owning your own lakeside getaway is beyond your budget. Well, if you think lake cabin real estate prices keep going up, well, think again. This is Russo, and I'm here to tell you there is an affordable way to enjoy a cabin lifestyle and all that goes with it. And yes, I said affordable. I founded a Clamshell Beach Resort, which is located on the Whitefish chain of 14 lakes for you and your family to enjoy. Here's how. Clamshell has lake homes that offer deeded fractional ownership, and the keywords there are deeded and fractional. You own it. Imagine having 5 weeks a year to enjoy Clamshell with its beaches, pool, and lodge that's full of kids' activities. Is golf your game? There's a great golf course right across the road. Like winter sports? Well, you can go ice fishing, cross-country skiing, or snowmobiling right out the door at Clamshell. And there's no maintenance, no grass mowing, no snow removal. It's done all for you. And you can own a share of Clamshell Beach Resort at an affordable price. To learn more about ownership opportunities at Clamshell Beach Resort, go to cottagesonwhitefish.com or contact Pat Egan at 612-220-9819. That's cottagesonwhitefish.com or Pat Egan at 612-220-9819.
All right, let's get to the rest of the roster. Rondale Moore was my sleeper, my flyer, my guy. I couldn't wait to see how Kevin O'Connell would use him if he made the team. Bad injury, out for the year. Sad story. It's always a sad story when we see an injury of that severity. What does it do to their wide receiver depth, do you think?
Yeah, first, I mean, man, it was heartbreaking to watch, like punt return, first punt return of the preseason, and he goes down, and they showed a shot of him on the, being carted off the field, and he's just kind of throwing his hands up in the air and just like, man, you know how hard he worked to get back, and to have it like taken away like that. I felt awful for Rondale Moore, because I think he really did have a chance to be a contributor here. Now, as you look forward, I mean, I think there's two scenarios that the Vikings can do. One is they can stay in-house, and then you're looking at guys like Lucky Jackson and Silas Bolden as possible end of the receiver rotation type players that Moore may have, taken one of those slots. Or they could go outside the organization. If there's cuts, you can make a trade, sign someone, to come in and beef up the roster that way. I think that is a spot that I'm going to be watching kind of closely for, waiver wire pickups, things like of that nature as the preseason goes along, especially when you're taking, and like one of the last receivers on the roster type of a move. They don't have to be ready to play right away. Get them in house, give them a few weeks to kind of get up to speed with the offense and figure out a small niche type of a role and go forward. So I think that's a real possibility. When you're looking at what the finished product of that receiver room is going to be, it might not be everyone in house. In the meantime, I do like what I've seen from Ty Felton, as a, third, fourth receiver, depending on, Jordan Addison's availability, his work on special teams, his versatility. I think that gives him a decent shot to be a contributor as a rookie, which is hard to do at receiver. But I will be watching closely to see if they go outside of the team, as cuts start hitting, and see if they can take a flyer on someone that they like in another situation that didn't make their team.
The easy internet reaction has been, oh, just go get Adam Thielen.
Yeah,
I don't see it.
Right. I don't either, Jim. I mean, he makes a lot of money, or a decent amount, I would say, in Carolina right now. And also I keep hearing that Carolina loves him, that, he's there. I know they have some young receivers that are very highly thought of. And I think it was McMillan and Jimmy Hart Jr. Like they're making impressions. That's good. But when you have a young quarterback like Bryce Young, and you're trying to develop him, and you're trying to give him every chance to succeed, and he's been shaky or up and down the first couple of years, you cannot just let him go out there with a bunch of rookies and first, second, third year guys at receiver. You need someone that is a reliable veteran player, and Adam Thielen is all of that. And he's still productive. He had a good year last year, and he had good chemistry with Bryce Young. And so, I just don't see the Panthers, A, being willing to trade him or cut him, and B, then if he were become available, maybe it's something you look at, but I don't think that that's a realistic option at this point.
I agree. And Bryce Young actually was one of the more productive quarterbacks in the NFL over after he returned. Was that 5 or 6 weeks where it was? And it wasn't just a couple weeks. He was good for a long stint. And I think Thielen had a lot to do with that. So I don't see any way the Vikings would have the opportunity to trade for him. And then if they did have the opportunity to trade for him, you are looking at a draft, maybe a significant draft pick, and picking up a certain amount of money. And I'm not sure that fits either.
Yeah, I think, I don't have their cap sheet right in front of me right now, but I know that they've kind of been, right on the razor's edge for a while here now. And so when you do acquire a player who's making that kind of money, that would, you would think, demand some salary cap gymnastics, and not to say that they can't. I mean, Rob Brzezinski's done that for his whole life, it seems like, but that's something that you definitely consider. And also, giving up assets, when Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah has been clear about trying to claw back some of the draft capital after some thin years, on the pick front. So I think that you'd be reluctant to do that as well. A player of his age and making his money, maybe it would only be, 5th or 6th rounder or something like that, but it's something, and it would take some doing. And it just seems like I just ultimately think that Carolina is going to look at this and say, you know what? We are fully all the way invested in Bryce Young, and we need to do everything we can to make this work, because if you have to punt on a number 1 overall pick quarterback after 3 years, you're in real trouble. And so, the easiest pathway forward to trying to make that not the case and trying to build on what he was able to finish last season is to have someone like Thielen around for him as a safety blanket and as a playmaker. And so, and as we all know, Thielen in the locker room is great. Just a good solid leader and a voice that is probably needed on a young team like that. And so it would really surprise me if Carolina said, you know what? We're ready to move on here. We're going to go forward with just a bunch of young guys, for Bryce Young to work with.
Yeah. Remember, those people are all trying to keep their jobs. They're not they're not serving as a farm system to the Minnesota Vikings. Right. They're trying to keep their jobs. Yeah. From Bryce Young to the front office to the coaching staff. So they ain't looking to do anybody any favors at this moment. Hey, thanks to Gately. Thanks to Onyx Hunt. Thanks to Clamshell Beach Resorts. Thanks to Twill and the Edina Galleria. Thank you for watching and or listening. We do appreciate it. We're starting to do more of our shows on YouTube now. We've started a fantasy football show with Kevin Gorg and Randy Shaver. We did our fantasy draft in conjunction with that show last week at the Talk North Studios, and it was a blast. Those guys are so much fun. Randy plays in about 50 I don't know how he does it. He plays about 50 fantasy football leagues. Of course, he's the only one that really matters. So check that show out. Check out Mark Rosen's Sports Monday. Dawn Mitchell's show is going to have Anthony Harris, the former Vikings safety, on this week. We also have Jeff Diamond's Vikings NFL Insider and Alec Lewis's show, which he does a great job with at TalkNorth.com. So we've got 3+ shows that deal with the Vikings. Check them all out. When you find a show you like, please subscribe to your favorite podcast app. Thank you, and we'll talk to you next week.